Good afternoon or evening, depending on how you look at it. How everybody's doing? Doing good? We have had a fabulous 3 or 4 days here in Heflin. It's been very, very entertaining to us and hopefully to the community. We've had quite the good time. When we met here Tuesday night to help you guys craft your community vision, it was one of the most, frankly, moving experiences for me in all the years I've been doing this, because you really took it seriously. And then you came together in groups and you had fun. And that kind of describes Heflin, I think. You're serious and you're fun. And sometimes you're serious about your fun, which is entertaining for us as well. So I am just so pleased to be here and introduce the resource team for your community. You guys are going to love what they have to say. This is your first year service from Main Street, Alabama. As a newly designated community, we come in and do this resource team. And we spent 3 days in your community, tons of interviews, public sessions, 1 or 2 glasses of wine, and have thoroughly enjoyed our time here. But we want to let you know that this is what you guys want Heflin to be, not what we want Heflin to be. So we worked off the words that you gave us at the visioning session. I'm going to go through the vision here in a minute, and then I'm going to turn it over to each of the resource team members to go into deeper parts of their point. And then we'll talk to you about next services. So here we go. So we have the resource team of, I'm Mary Helmer, Main Street, Alabama State Coordinator. Tricia Black is our Field Services Specialist. She and I are full-time staff with Main Street, Alabama, which means we're on the road a lot. But we're good at it. So we're road warrior and we have a good time with that. Marilyn Barkin is our marketing and communications coordinator. She takes care of all things marketing and does an outstanding job on the promotion pieces for our communities. Jay Schlinsog is with Downtown Professionals Network. I've been working with Jay for quite a while, actually worked with him when I was still in Kansas. Was impressed with him there and have continued to be impressed with his skill set here. And then we'll close it out with Randy Wilson, who's with Community Design Solutions to do the design part. Randy's a great guy. You're really going to enjoy his part as well. So for those of you who were here Tuesday night, you know we took some time, put a lot of words up, did a lot of voting, and frankly, it was pretty much a consensus on what you want Heflin to be. This is your 2021 vision. Downtown Heflin, the proud seat of Cleburne County, is a thriving city known for their historic character, clean, updated, and homey, hallmark-worthy atmosphere. The community works together with a strong sense of unity that define our character and culture, a place to come together to share in all things that make us laugh, cry, and support one another. Tapping into the enthusiasm and vision for the future, Heflin Main Street worked with both public and private sectors to form a clear, implementation-oriented plan, along with complementing financial incentives for true downtown revitalization. The result is quality downtown redevelopment projects and sustainable community growth. Projects focused on filling vacant buildings, improving and maximizing space in others to meet needs of locals, tourists, and recreational enthusiasts. This significantly impacted vacant and dilapidated downtown properties, motivating property owners to either sell or reinvest in a lively and welcoming downtown. Capitalizing on the natural resources in the county and connectivity to outdoor recreation areas, downtown Heflin has become an ecotourism destination. Biking, hiking, and walking trails tie downtown to the rest of the community. Quality signage allows for the capture of highway traffic for retail shopping. Traffic calming measures have been implemented to allow for safer on-street parking. Downtown Heflin boasts a variety of shops, including men's and women's clothing, as well as restaurants, to meet both the needs of locals and visitors, bringing sales tax dollars and jobs to the community. Heflin Main Street is a hub for communication, community buy-in, local partnerships, and strong local leadership. Downtown Heflin is the heart of the community, delivering desired daytime and nighttime activities, including unique shops, dining, courthouse row entertainment venue, green spaces, festivals, microbrewery, railroad platform, and more, beckoning all for a stroll, conversation, and a sense of community. We love Heflin. So, what do you think? It's your vision. It's not always easy trying to fit everybody's ideas and thoughts into a vision. It's a little stressful. But I think this is one of the more fun visions that we've been able to craft for communities because you guys love Heflin. and that's apparent in everything that you do. So I am going to turn it over to Tricia Black to talk about the organization piece.
Hello. One of the things that I wanted to say too is it was so obvious in all of our meetings that you definitely love your community. We heard and felt it with every one of our interviews that we had in the last couple of days. And the great thing about your downtown is it's the perfect backdrop to showcase your community pride in the downtown projects that you're going to be doing in the future. Now, my point is the organization point. So we want to make sure that your foundation, that your program is strong, and that your funding is strong to support your projects. So we're going to be looking at raising money. It's important to build partnerships within your community, and we want to look at a membership base, and we want to build on your volunteers as well, and we want to tell the story of your Main Street program and your successes. Okay, this is a flow chart for Heflin Main Street, and you've got your board of directors. I'm not sure if your renewal committee will roll into your board of directors, but we want your board of directors to also serve as your organization committee, and that's going to be a good fit because you're going to be looking at your policies and procedures and your governing documents and your membership materials. And I really think, do I need that? Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. And that's going to be really helpful because you're going to be able to move faster. Move faster with your program than if you had to recruit a whole nother committee to get those things going. And then we also want a member of your board of directors to chair one of the other 3 committees. So you got promotion, economic vitality, and design. And let me also, we want to recommend that you have a Friends of, in addition to Heflin Main Street, so a Friends of Heflin Main Street, that would be set up as a 501c3. And that way you can have people fund projects, people can make donations, and it would be tax deductible. And this is the model that the National Main Street Center says is how to fund your Main Street program. So you get 30% from the public sector, and that's your city and county. 30% comes from private contributions within your district, so that's your memberships from your property owners, employees, and then another 30% from those outside of the district, and that can come from other community organizations, your corporate support, and also memberships, and then 10% will come from events and fundraisers. So what we want to do is establish your membership levels. And while you're doing that, go ahead and look at some sponsor and investor levels, because there may be those people that want to, support you at a higher level. Monroeville Main Street, they work really close with their chamber, and so what they do is they offer a discount for those people within the district to join, so they can be members of both Main Street and the chamber. So I would recommend that y'all consider that. Your chamber has done great things, and we think it's important for them to be members of both. We don't want people to think they have to be members of one or the other. And we want you to create those membership materials and make sure that you have an online presence. We want people to be able to join, and if they want to do an online website, write a check, use a Square, whatever we need to do. Okay, and we've got to get your volunteers engaged, and y'all have the volunteers, which is great. We heard from lots of people that said, we want to get involved, we just didn't really know how to. So we kind of go over a few things that you can do. One thing you do is when somebody joins or somebody shows interest in serving on committee, you can give them a volunteer application. And so you're getting their basic information, and you're asking them to put what committee, or if they just want to do clerical work or maybe work a special event. But for those people that you kind of recognize as being your rock star, have them come in and sit down and actually do like a job interview. And don't assume that if somebody does accounting all day that they want to crunch numbers on their free time. Maybe they have an interest in interior design, and they want to help stores with their displays. So you want to sit down and really spend some time cultivating those rock stars. And the other thing that we heard is that people just didn't know, how to volunteer. They told us they heard about it Facebook and from church. Well, there's some great free online tools that they'll send you text messages. You can embed it, put it on your Facebook, your website, and that's signupgenius.com and signup.com, and I'm sure there's other ones too, but I've used Signup Genius, and it works great because you can put your shifts out there, and if there's any changes, it will send out notifications to everyone that's signed up. And then also, you can put together job descriptions that you can post. So that, for an example, we needed a graphic designer in Athens. We couldn't afford one. So I did a job description and put it on the website, and we had a guy that called me and said he was interested. And he was a lab technician during the day, but he had always wanted to do graphic art. So he came in, he started doing our logos and doing our website, and I let him put his little, logo on everything. And he ended up actually getting so much business that he had to stop working for Spirit of Athens, but it was great because we got a lot of good product in the meantime. And I'd really encourage you to get your youth involved. We met with the 6th grade journalism class yesterday. They are so bright, so polite, so mannerly, and they so love their community. You want to listen to them. I mean, they have great ideas. We always say we want, things for the youth. Well, they're going to tell you what they want in their downtown. So you want to engage them, get them volunteering at events, but get them doing projects too. We were talking about Snapchat today. If you don't know how to build a filter on Snapchat, just get one of these students to do it because they can do it in a blink. Think about putting a student on the Main Street board. That would be a great way to keep them engaged. And they're going to spread the word to their friends. So you want to make sure that they get excited about events. And these are your entrepreneurs. I mean, they are your future business owners, but maybe not even distant future business owners. I mean, some of these kids are already thinking about things that they could do now as far as running a business. Okay, I think one of the groups I talked about, one of my proudest moments is when I had a committee meeting, and I had someone with aqua hair in the meeting, someone with no hair or hardly any hair, and I had like the hipster granola person and professionals. To me, that was a proud moment because it was reaching out through so many different people, and we were actually going together to work on a community garden. But you want, you're going to have projects going to reach out to different people. You want to give them ownership. You don't want Tanya to be the only face of Heflin Main Street. I mean, you want other people to get credit for what they do, and you want to thank them. You can do an annual luncheon, do a volunteer of the year, but, give them kudos and pat them on the back a lot. Try not to use and abuse. A lot of times you see the same people working every event, and I always say, but you can use and abuse your family, so that's kind of, yeah. Understand that there's time constraints. If someone says, look, I can only volunteer 2 hours a month, just, don't expect them to do 10 hours a month. And understand that there's a shelf life. They're not going to volunteer forever. So, just like my graphic artist that I loved, it was time for him to move on. And get rid of dead weight. I really don't see that as being an issue here, but not everyone has the best interest of your downtown and Main Street program. So if you have somebody that's starting to weigh your program down, just say thank you. You can go work with somebody else. We're going to move forward. And I just wanted to list some of the partnerships, and this is just a few. I've got the city and the county. Tap into Jacksonville State University. I think they could be a great resource. Chamber. Southwire, how great is it that you have Southwire in your community? They're so community-minded. And I think that anything projects that you have, I'd go and just sit down and talk with them and see what they can do. See if they can get their black shirts out to actually help get some of these things done. You got your Arts Council, and you can see the rest. But there's probably even more. But that's your volunteer as well as possibly funding sources. Okay, so you love your downtown, but you also love your schools and you love football. So we thought it would be great for you to start capturing kind of some of your alumni that maybe have left Heflin and start inviting them to come back to homecoming. And then, encourage them to do tailgate, downtown. Maybe do a street dance. I heard there used to be street dances. So you could do it on Victory Street, close that off and do a dance. Maybe do a Saturday promotion so that those people that go to the game Friday night, give them something to do on Saturday and have specials in your businesses. Feature a Heflin hero. So maybe the Grand Marshal of the Homecoming Parade is some outstanding alumni that you want to recognize. You can have some past football players in your parade. You can do, and understand y'all color the town red, but there may be some opportunities that you can put window decals that are showing some things from the past, and build those alumni relations. Capture that information. Let them know about the projects you're doing in your downtown, because they still love Heflin too, and they might get behind you and support some of those projects. Okay, the other idea I had was you could do kind of like spirit sticks, and so you can get your youth involved in putting together these spirit sticks. You can hang them from the trees and your railing, but you have a huge spirit stick in your downtown, the pole. So I think you should light it up during homecoming too, and just make it a huge spirit stick in itself, and light up your trees. I mean, just go ahead and if you're gonna color it red, just go all out. Okay, so going in that direction, okay, and I'm looking at the pole, let's go ahead and look, how about painting the pole? I mean, just kind of start thinking about it in a different way. I don't know what community this was, and this is a totem pole, but maybe it's community events, maybe it's got the names of your supporters of your downtown program, but do something fun with it. It could actually be kind of like a fun public art piece. And then I put the thermometer there because you could actually light it up. Like say if you have a particular project you're working on, you can show kind of the levels of support. You can have just like a little information piece. And so people can actually drive by and see, hey, we've almost reached our goal. And hey, put a big red heart on top of it that lights up at the end. I don't know. I'm sure y'all can roll with that. The other idea was to do kind of a farm to table event. And again, you could do this on Vickery. And these are pictures from Alex City, and they did it. They had a great success from it. But we were suggesting doing something like Shine and Dine. So you have a farm to table from, it's your local growers, and maybe get the culinary department with your vocational school to actually cook it, or maybe some local chefs, and then do a moonshine sampling along with it. So Shine and Dine. And this would be a fundraiser. Another piece of organization is the public relations piece. So you want to tell your story. When a new business opens, spread the word about it. Make it a human interest story. Someone opened this business. Maybe they're from Heflin, maybe they're not. Why did they want to open in downtown? What products are they featuring? And then back it up with stats. We've had 5 new businesses up in our downtown within the last year. And just kind of keep pushing it out there, and it will get picked up eventually. And let your volunteers give their testimonials and spotlight your volunteers. Let them tell the story of why they thought it was important to get involved. And encourage people to write letters to the editor. You want to build your media relations. We met with the reporter from Cleveland County Reporter, right? The other day, and also we met with the journalism class. They have a newsletter. Y'all, they are excited about featuring downtown in that. They're going to be selling them for 50 cents a piece, and hopefully we'll get those in some of the downtown businesses too. And then social media, we think you should go ahead and do a Heflin Main Street Facebook page. Share photos from the past. People love that, and that's a great way to engage your alumni. And keep your mission out there. So when you're posting on social media, every so often you need to put out there what your mission is, so that people kind of trolling can see that. So I just encourage y'all to take all this community pride, and y'all are going to make things happen. So I'm excited to sit back and watch your success.
My name is Marilyn Barkin, and I worked on your promotion point this week. And I'm going to be telling you different ways that you can use promotion as a way to effectively revitalize your downtown and make it sticky, a sticky place where people need to be. And when people need to stick around to enjoy downtown, they have needs that need to be addressed by your merchants. So it all ties together. So community pride. I love this photograph because at first I thought it was a construction photo. But then I realized that these people are in suits and they're wearing top hats. I think they're just enjoying the construction. of it. I think if any community could have built a courthouse from the ground up, it would have been Heflin. So I thought this was particularly fitting for you guys. Now this is the words from your 6th grade journalism class. We asked them specifically to describe Heflin in one word. And it was so rewarding, I know, to be able to pass along the information that y'all's community pride campaign had penetrated like the 6th grade. And one of the students even said, well, you know, we just like to keep it in Cleburne. Oh, which was great. So these are the words that your 6th graders used. Then they just said, you know, it's got its own vibe. So we thought that it would be great to partner with the 6th grade journalism class on a couple of different projects, but one of them is to use them as a downtown reporter and include a column about downtown and things that are happening in your community in their newsletter. And then the high school YouTube channel, hysterical. We love that. I don't know if y'all watch it on a regular basis, but when it comes out, it is so fantastic, so wonderful. They have a world news report, and we were thinking they could also start including a downtown news report. And these are really effective ways to start talking about what's going on in downtown Heflin, because they tend to reach not only fellow students, but your parents, and then people share them on Facebook, and they reach your grandparents and your parents' friends, and it has a viral nature to it. And also, we would recommend that you start submitting articles or human interest stories to the Cleburne News and Anniston Star. And I don't know if y'all know this or not, but you can get your own byline at al.com, and you can just start posting your own stories. And that is a nice statewide audience that you can gather there. And then again, just like Tricia just said, a nice, strong presence for Heflin online. And monthly programming was one thing that we talked about a little bit, because at one point your merchants were staying open late on Tuesday nights from, I believe, from 7 to 9. And, you know, it was really kind of hard to get that momentum going. So the Main Street Alabama communities that have done that type program successfully, such as this photograph, this is downtown Gadsden. This is their First Friday promotion. And they do an excellent job in programming their downtown one Friday a month. And we thought that this would be a great idea for y'all when it's not football season. Or you can choose a different night, because that just wouldn't work. But you can see here, Gadsden does music, they do car shows, they do merchant open houses and things like that. But Heflin's community dances, I mean, that's kind of a cool tradition. So we thought part of your downtown after hours campaign should involve community dancing. And it could actually target different groups each month. You could do, one month would be Western themed, and you could have line dancers there. You could have salsa dancers. You could even tie in your barbecue restaurant. They could sell boxes to go. You could have a community table on Vickery Street where everyone eats together. You could have your Mexican restaurant work at it. So there were a lot of nice little tie-ins. But we don't ever want you to forget about your retailers. And your retailers really are to be thought of kind of specially in these programs, because you want them all to get to share the wealth. And one thing that we have found that's successful are these little power hour shopping excursions. And one of the grocers, I believe Piggly Wiggly, used to do a Moonlight Madness. And she told me that they would have to go and mark all the items down by hand. So you would close the doors and people would line up in the parking lot. Well, when you ride by and people are in line at the parking lot of the Pig, you're going to pull over and get in line at the Pig. So these sorts of power hours are the exact same concept. And you paper the windows, you write that you're going to have specials. A group in Birmingham did a power hour, and it was 50% off one item, 25% off the second item. And then after the hour, it's just closed. And so people just went crazy. So I feel like that would be a nice thing for you to do before your community dance and use your restaurant. But once you get your merchants organized, there are other collaborations that you can do throughout the year. This is the Jasper Square card. And the Jasper Square card is worth $5 off of any $25 purchase in their downtown. And they're supporting businesses, and they have a decal on their front door saying, "We accept the Jasper Square." And then Jasper Main Street can come around and collect the squares and actually quantify or qualify the sales results, like how many people actually use this card. And that's really nice because you need that sort of trackable information to sell your next promotion with your merchants and make sure they know how valuable that promotion can be to them. And then these are two other little ideas. Since y'all have the archery component downtown, we thought it would be cool. You could do different discounts on the bullseye, and then people can shoot, for something different. This is my daughter, her favorite store in Fairhope, the Fairhope Soap Company. And during Fairhope Arts and Crafts, they put out a big wheel, and she was like, oh, I've got to get the free bath bomb. I've got to get the free bath bomb. But her coupon was a comeback coupon, so it was good for 2 months. And, she went straight back. It was just burning a hole in her pocket. So once you get your merchants all on board and working as a team, it really is going to allow you to jump on to some other things and really expand and enhance what you're already doing, such as Holidays on Ross. And Holidays on Ross, I love the real-life elf on a shelf, and Downtown Mobile has been doing this. And this is the elf on Airport Boulevard. And you could, spot him, take pictures, hashtag, he could promote an item. And he also was a spokesperson, and they did a downtown shopping guide, and he went on the news, and he covered it. And, any news station is going to cover, the real-life elf on the shelf. So to tie into that, they also did, here at the bottom, let's see, that one. That was when they tried to break the largest elf gathering world record last year in downtown, and they were using the turnstiles to make sure that they counted everyone, and you had to have elf ears. It was a huge crowding event, and it was a great time. They did not break the world record, but they're going to try again this year. I know. And so also there's some other promotions that you can do to move people through your downtown, because you want to make sure that when you have a merchant open house, that one merchant doesn't get left out just because they might be a little further away or off the beaten path. And one of those ideas is an event similar to Sip and Cider, which is what they do in downtown Athens. And you have an option, you can make a naughty or nice cider or both. And people stroll through the shops, and they could have specials in the shop. And they could judge or rate your ciders from 1 to 5. And at the end of the stroll, they turn in their card, and there's a cup for the best cider, and that's it right there. That unattractive little hot glue gun candlestick. Beautiful. But, events like that pull people through, and it's something different and new. And like I said, you want to be inclusive of everyone. But another thing that I thought would be really cool is to have your 6th grade journalism class do a downtown holiday shopping guide. And then they could do a little decal logo where they mark the products in your downtown that they think are cool. And the items could be displayed in the store window with the logo. And I just said Tiger 10, but I'm sure they could do something way more creative than that. You could have a decal that says this business has an item that was selected as a Tiger 10 this week, and you could keep doing it for up to a month. And you could cover different retail sectors. You could say, these are top gifts for my grandparents, my parents, my brothers and sisters, and this is what I actually want for Christmas. So you could really get a lot of longevity out of something like that. And then you could I'm sure y'all have Santa, but Mrs. Claus comes to my hometown, and she returns all the letters to the kids. She responds to them. And I think that small towns and engaged communities can handle projects like that. And my kids really look forward to it. And then they made it snow. So if you have children's activities on one side of the street and you need to pull your kids down to the other side of the street, if you have something like snow, they're going to come to the other side of the street. So, and also move those children's events around. Don't always have them in the same parking lot or church park or anything like that, because all the parents tend to park close to those and go there and watch their children and may not walk around to the entire downtown. So one thing, we talked about Southwire, and they are so amazing. So I Googled some of their products. I mean, I don't know if y'all have. They make everything. They make copper rods. They make copper wire. They make wire that can make art. And these are examples of art that is made of wire, which is absolutely beautiful. So after our resource team meeting, I asked him, is this something that y'all would be interested in? A public art competition where we could showcase your products in downtown Heflin. He's like, I really think that is something cool that we could work on. So this is so important, I know, because y'all want more industry here and y'all have such community pride. I think it's a nice piece of community pride to bring that into your downtown in an artistic way that has a lot of value. Okay, so, and this is another way to make your downtown sticky, doing unusual interactive pieces of art that people will enjoy. And another way to make your downtown sticky is to kind of give people a little bit of entertainment. So my vision for the vacant lot, can you tell me where it is?
It's the lot between the chiropractor and the bookkeeping.
Okay, and it's got the rail on it. Well, in my mind, I would love to see like an elevated deck, right there to where it brings it up to street level. And then you can program it live at the livery, and you can have a chalkboard where people sign up to play, and it would be a kinetic acoustic community stage, which that would be extremely engaging for your youth and your young people. And it would also need a component of movable furniture, because y'all have great streetscape furniture in downtown Heflin, but you don't have anything that you can decide how you want to use it. So tables and chairs that you can move around actually facilitates more stickiness in a downtown. And then to address your market position that we've been talking about, y'all really do have a wonderful opportunity to begin to position yourself in the market as basically Cheehaw Mountain's hometown. When you go to Cheehaw, you need to get your provisions here in Heflin. When you go to an event in Cheehaw, when you think mountains and support services in Alabama, you should really be thinking about Heflin. So there are events in Cheehaw, and then there's also mountain-themed activities that I think that you guys could capitalize on. And one of those is folk art pottery. And I know that y'all are doing some things in the Mountain Center, which is incredible, but I think that your Main Street program might actually be able to build on what's already happening and develop this into a unique festival that's really true to who you guys are. So you can bring in experts to lecture about this and educate the community on how valuable this pottery is and exactly different ways that it's made and the different glazes and how you can tell what communities they are from based on the color. And there's actually a Heflin native who is internationally known for expertise in ceramics, Andrew Glasgow, and he lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and y'all should contact him and see if he would come back to Heflin and share his expertise on the topic. And I love the idea to have local restaurants have bowls that they serve special soup in, and then you take the bowl home. And it's a souvenir piece of pottery that you can take with you. We do this, Earthborn Ceramics does that in a show in Leeds, and it's very successful. And it's also a fundraiser. And then have the local clay artists plugged into your downtown merchant storefronts, and they can be there offering an additional signature on the bottom of the pieces that they sell in those merchants' stores. And then school curriculum enhancement. It would be so great to tell these kids that are literally sponges for information on Heflin how this pottery is made and why it's significant to them. And that will further the interest in your community. And of course, pottery demonstrations, throwing clay on wheels in the street and doing some hand building activities for the children. All of that would really build a nice event for you guys. And the Bigfoot Bio Bash. I really love this one because I had no idea that there have been 60 Bigfoot sightings in this area since 1980. Okay, so it is so fun that y'all have the Bio Bash, and this is something that's happening out on Mount Cheehaw that could truly become something special for Heflin. So I would recommend a little bit of runner engagement. When they come downtown to pick up their registration pack, make them linger for a little while. Sell them a ticket to a carb-loading dinner, because that's what all these runners want the night before they have to do a trail run. You can keep them in Heflin. You can have Snapchat filters built with Bigfoot kind of in the back with the courthouse, which would tag your community and promote Heflin. And then Jim Smith, who is the local expert on Bigfoot, could come in and talk to people about these great stories he has. But why would you not, while they're there, screen the Bigfoot movie? I mean, that would be huge for both the runners and your community, which is another sector that you're going to want to engage. So this is Jim Smith and his dog, Chico, who's the Bigfoot alert dog. Well, the Bigfoot alert dog needs to be downtown taking pictures with kids all that day, because that is so funny and just so unique. People would love that. It would completely go viral. And then the Sasquatch size sales with bounce forward coupons would incorporate your merchants again, where when you go into a storefront and you make a purchase, they in turn give you an incentive to go to another store downtown. You could also do a digital scavenger hunt with an app. You could do the Bigfoot Celebration, which is a portion of what they're trying to do right now on Cheehaw, but it's struggling because it's just storytelling instead of Bigfoot storytelling. So y'all just need to take it to the next level here and be the destination. And I also love the idea of having giant footprints on your main street leading to your retailers, because Bigfoot's kind of elusive, and so are these big sales and these great buys. And I feel like there's a lot of fun little tie-ins that you could do. And then finally, to celebrate your moonshine past would be a moonshine festival. And when I was doing some research, I was so shocked to find just the wealth of information and the descriptions that I did find in the papers. So there was, y'all may know, William Beltry Smith, who was king of moonshine. He had a courthouse trial here in Heflin in 1896, where his wife actually had to sew an additional compartment on the inside of his pants to conceal his weapon, because he was going to shoot his way out if he had to. But no one showed up to testify against him, so he got off. But so you would go to the woods, and he had a bell that hung from a limb on a tree. You would ring the bell, leave your container, and when you were out of sight, they would come, and they would take the container, fill it. But if you dilly-dallied, and I'm quoting the article, there was a warning shot fired. Like, none of that. And then if you hung around too long, you would just be shot. So I'm pretty sure that's why he was in the courthouse in Heflin. But stories like that are so great, because they really are your community history. And then I love the stories of the people in the cars and the wood trucks that were actually hollowed out that they put the moonshine into to hide it. It really is a fun little thing you guys could do. But because the descriptions are so good, it really lends itself to a couple of skits in the downtown. And I think that would be really fun and nice way to aim the area as well. And then there's a lot of sites here in this area of timber property, and they found some really still Auburn University students went out and they excavated it with a collection, and they can bring it to your downtown and tell people about it. And you also have the company in First, the Raven Rock Company, and you can do a mixology competition where, they're making different cocktails with their drinks. But I think all food and all beverages at this event should really be in mason jars. I think that would be so cool. A salad or barbecue in a mason jar. And then have stills set up all through your downtown in front of your different merchants, so people are pulled all the way through. Oh, and tell the stories, like this picture here. This is just a little exhibit, and it's kind of hokey, but you can tell the story of moonshining past in your vacant windows. And these shoes are super cool because they are supposed to make it look like it was really a cow walking or a horse. So these are like artifacts, that you guys could display and tell this story. And then obviously reprint these old articles in the newspapers and stuff leading up to your event, so people know that it's coming, and it will really spark a lot of interest. and then tie it in with your Shine and Dine membership dinner. And then if you're ever bored, which I don't think y'all are in Heflin, there is just a huge list of national promotions that go on around the country that you can easily jump on board with. And this is National Dance Day by the Dizzy Feet Foundation. And if your kids watch So You Think You Can Dance, The Next Generation, they know all about this. And you can be a certified location and you can submit your community doing the choreography of that year's dance to the Dizzy Feet Foundation, and they may get shown on TV. So I took my kids to downtown Mobile to Cathedral Square where they participated this year. And there's also something called Parking Day. And Parking Day is where you just take over parking spaces and make them into a park. And this is in downtown Montgomery. So our little friend Clay McGinnis and his buddies kind of hanging out in a parking space. So anyway, promotions should be fun, and they should feel good, and they should really be true to who you are. And they're a great tool to build community enthusiasm and momentum, and you just want people to say, hey, I remember I did that. And I did that in downtown Heflin, and I really want to go back. So thank you.
How is everyone? I don't know how to follow that. This is, though, the segment in the show where we're taking nominations from the floor for the Elf on the Shelf. Nominations are closed. You're it. Congratulations. Thank you. Oh, an extra pay. My name's Jay Schwenzog. I'm with Downtown Professionals Network. I've been doing Main Street stuff a long, long time. Let me tell you, spending 2 days with you has really been. I mentioned to the group this morning that sometimes it's almost like we have to work to get folks there to love their towns again. That here, and it's certainly not work. You truly love this town, and we fell in love. I'm going to talk a little bit about economic vitality. It's probably one of the 4 points that tends to cause the most confusion, or is just kind of a mystery what that really is. So let me start here. How many economic development professionals do we have in the room today? Here's the thing. When I was much younger than I am today, starting out in Main Street, if someone asked me that question, I could not have raised my hand either. I wasn't an economic development professional. But in the context of Main Street and what we do, we have to take a little bit of a different approach. And yes, Main Street is economic development. Some of you might have seen that on banners around the room here. Main Street is economic development, but it's different from traditional economic development. It's not like going out and scraping ground in a pasture somewhere and putting up an industrial building. We recognize, Main Street recognizes that there is an existing economy that we work with. Economy and a downtown area that's evolved over 150, 200 years or more. And so as we think about economic development and what that looks like, it recognizes that we have historic structures, which are truly assets. And you do have assets in your downtown that distinguish you from any other place. It recognizes that we have property owners and business owners that have already made an investment in your community. And so as we think about what economic development looks like, it takes a little bit of a different role. And I think really the best way, perhaps the easiest way to demonstrate that is just by showing you some examples of what that actually looks like. And how you might be able to plug in as a valuable player in the economic vitality strategy right here in Heflin. So let me start here and talk about mining. We're looking for miners. Any data, market analysis geeks in the room? It's okay, you can raise your hand. I'm always looking for at least one person that will join me at the support group at 7 o'clock tonight, but it looks like I'm going to be doing this by myself. This is that part of economic development that people don't necessarily get real excited about, quite frankly. But yet it's absolutely essential to laying the groundwork for successful economic development. And let me just show you some examples of what it looks like in real life. And let's start here. Market research is not locking ourselves in a dark room somewhere and getting up next to a computer screen and pouring over numbers. It's as much as going to the community and hearing from those best opportunities. And this is only a starting point. These are some of the uses, the business types that you identified as part of the visioning session here on Tuesday night. I think y'all were hungry and thirsty because you see microbrewery right at the top of the list, restaurants, light and fresh deli, bakery. The other one, though, that you see right at the bottom, and we tend to think could have some real opportunities on a number of different levels, is that sporting goods and outfitters business type. And we don't necessarily know what that is yet. We're going to have a chance to dig into this deeper as we move through the market analysis process next year. But Marilyn already alluded to it. Based on our 3 days here, which makes us an expert on nothing when it comes to Heflin, based on that vast experience, it does appear to us that we have a real ecotourism capital of the year. You are blessed with an abundance of nobody told me when I was coming to Heflin that I was going to be in the midst of God's country, and you are truly blessed. And as we think about those things that distinguish us, about those things that we can claim as our own, a launching pad for reinforcing that story in a way that even transcends to goods and services and experiences more than anything else. There's a real opportunity here, it would appear, that we want to dig into further. So that's a starting point. As we move through the market analysis process last year, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but want to just reinforce the fact that as we look at those numbers, as we think about those opportunities, we absolutely must incorporate your ideas and what you perceive to be some of those very best opportunities, and then use that information to begin selling those opportunities and tell the story of opportunities right here in downtown Heflin. There is, again, some of this work, these tasks are not sexy, but they're absolutely essential. And it's even as simple as getting our building inventory together and identifying those available properties and spaces that will be home to those next great legendary businesses here in Heflin. We have a start on that. We've already talked with Tanya and the staff here about how we need to work with the existing systems that are already in place and work with property owners and agents to make sure that that information is readily available and on demand. It also includes putting together our collateral materials and talking about those basic demographic information, and yes, retail sales surplus and leakage analysis and psychographic information. Y'all are with me, right? What's important about this is that we need to break it down into terms that even you would enjoy reading about and talking about, and even putting photos to it. Can you believe that in market analysis we can put images and photos to this stuff? But that's what tells the story. That's what jumps off the page, right? And then we use the numbers to reinforce those opportunities here. Mary and Main Street, Alabama are going to be requiring Tanya and you to gather and provide information, progress reports on a monthly basis. Here's the thing, a lot of communities see that as, oh, just another job, just another task that we have to complete in order to keep married. Yes, that is important. That is important. But too few communities, quite frankly, are using that information to really talk about the progress and the investment that's being made locally. Because even as we will be rifling through reams and reams of data and information that comes from what we refer to as secondary sources, like the Census Bureau and like ESRI and others, that information can't capture what's really happening on the ground today. We have to capture, we have to mine that information and then present it in such a way that it makes a compelling case for others to join and invest in those opportunities here. The second part, or the second role that we look at is in terms of facilitation. And again, you are blessed. I mentioned last night that sometimes you get into communities and everyone is smiling at each other, giving pats on the back, and putting on this, that's almost a show like, you know, where we all love each other, we get along, and at the end of the day, we all get around the fire and sing Kumbaya. And we just know there's something going on. There's, you know, something's rotten in Denmark, and it's not unusual, but at some point in time down the road, that tends to rear its head. And the reason I'm telling you that is that the camaraderie and the spirit of teamwork, the willingness to work together and get along, from all appearances here, is genuine. Part of why it's been so much fun working with you here for the last 3 days. So it's working with our partners, working together to identify how we might all play a role as we communicate, work together, and put together a strategy that this community is going to buy. And part of that facilitation happened here on Tuesday night. A lot of you were part of that. And as you looked around the room, and I mean, wow, look at this crowd again here tonight. Folks are engaged. Whether you're intrigued, whether you're curious, whether you're excited, you're here. Folks are interested and they want to be a part of this. And it didn't stop here. Here are the rock stars, right? Here are the students that we had a chance to meet with. And let me tell you, it's always a good reminder for us to take a look at those faces, because much of what we're doing is folks nodding their heads. This is that next, these are the legends, those next legends, and this is why we're doing this. So that's just a start, and what is highly apparent here in Heflin is that, yes, email is important, text messaging is important, telephone, but there is no substitute for one-on-one. And I'm more guilty of this than anyone in this room. I tend to rely on all those electronic forms of information, but what tends to get lost is the fact that we really care. We want to be partners. We want to work together. That can't be communicated electronically. I'll make this really short because I know we're going to be running short on time. Several years back, just to indict myself here, several years back, I don't remember where I was, I called my wife, she picked up the phone and she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Well, nothing wrong." She said, "Why are you calling?" I said, "Well, you're my wife, I love you, I miss you." She said, "No." Never call. You text, you email, but you never call. So her first reaction when she actually got a phone call about that. And the only way that we're communicating with our constituents is by electronic media. We really are not necessarily communicating. And what I'll just close it here by saying, if we really want to stand out as an organization that cares, if we really want to set ourselves apart from others that rely almost exclusively just on electronic communication, we're going to do it personally. And so one way of doing that is with an ongoing business visitation program. And this happens somewhat naturally here in Heflin, we know that. But we need to be intentional as we make those visits. And I'm not just speaking in terms of Tanya and what she does as she visits businesses. I'm talking about a committee-led business visitation program where we're just dropping in, we're making calls, we're talking about what's new, what's in the works, hearing concerns, and then taking that back and using that information to fine-tune our strategies for business retention and expansion. It also means demonstrating to folks that we are ready for business and we are business friendly. And been real impressed here. I mean, this is one of those areas where it's already been identified by many of you sitting in this room, not the least of which is your city. There are already efforts underway, and we absolutely love the idea of a one-stop shop for anyone that's interested in expanding a business, anyone that's opening a business, to do your business licensing, to get your building permit. Love that idea and would certainly encourage you to pursue that and put it right at the top of the list. The other thing I would mention is that sometimes those processes, in terms of how to go about navigating that process, they tend to be more internal, but we want to be very transparent, and let's put it in the very simplest form possible and make it as simple as we can, whether it be a checklist or a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do these things. Let's really demonstrate to folks that not only do we want their business, but we're going to do everything we can to accommodate them and make it easy for folks to get in business. We're also going to provide you an example from Emporia, Kansas of a business investment guide. And not that you need to duplicate this, but I think as you go through the process of looking at that streamlining, the permitting process, and the regulatory review processes, there may be some pieces and some hints and tips here that could help you out as you move ahead. Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting, and this is where I got kind of excited. As you think about how opportunities might manifest themselves in the downtown area, oftentimes our first reaction is, well, some folks think that they're just waiting for that white knight to ride in from Birmingham or Montgomery or Mobile that has all this money and is just going to fall in love with Heflin, and because property prices are so low compared to Birmingham and Mobile and Gulf Shores, they're just going to buy it all up and make everything well for right folks. If you're buying that line, I've got a bridge or two that I'd like to talk to you about. Another theory is, well, let's go to the government and let's think about all those different programs that are out there and how the government can help us do. The government needs to be a partner, but I'm convinced, again, on my vast 3 days experience here in Heflin, I'm convinced that the very best way to go about economic development is with the private sector driving. Now, I've got a little test. I only had a chance to try this out, two or three different groups. But here's the idea. How many of you, either personally, or how many of you might know someone that would be willing to invest $5,000 in investment to go out there, buy properties, turn them into turnkey, or move in renting spaces for new retailers and new restaurants, business types that you target, and then go down the road and do that again, and do that again. Personally, might be interested, or moreover, might know someone you think could be interested in doing something like that. Not because of writing down names. I saw about 8 or 10 hands there. There are examples out there of where communities like Heflin have taken this on. In Biloxi, Mississippi, I think we pronounced this Rue View. It was a group of 25 women that are doing that very thing. They've just made it their job, their mission, to go out and acquire properties, rehab them, and use them to accommodate their downtown. And if they can do it in Biloxi, Mississippi, I know you can do it even better in Heflin, Alabama. So it's one of those models that's, in a way of thinking, a little outside the box in terms of how we might approach business development and economic development that, again, on the surface could be right for Heflin. Now, this is not something we do tomorrow, even next week, next month. There's still a lot of work to be done, but we at least want to begin planting some seeds and be thinking in creative ways of how economic development is going to happen here in Heflin. There are other ideas, and the very idea of an investors group could also provide a basis for a business plan contest. And we have 3 or 4 examples that we're going to be sharing from you, including one from Mount Vernon in Iowa, where basically what they did is work together with a property owner to accommodate, take folks through a business plan contest and award space for 2 years, rent-free, to the winner of that business plan. One of the things that we heard while we were here is that it seems like some of our buildings have been a revolving door where we have a business move in, and after a couple, 3 months, maybe 6 months, that business is gone, it's a couple months. What we heard is that in some cases, those businesses really could have been plan training and receiving some technical assistance, and perhaps some marketing support. That was the idea here, and it was also the idea behind the Red Wing, Minnesota Retail Challenge. This just culminated a couple of months ago, and as a result of that, the photo that you see at the bottom is the outfitter, a cycle shop and outfitter shop. He was the winner of the contest, and again, it included the rent, but it also included marketing support, technical assistance from the Small Business Development Center, those kinds of resources that you already have. Working with your partners, this is something that you could readily facilitate. The other model that might be worthy of considering is one from Saranac Lake in New York. The folks there decided that they were going to put together a community home store. They sold shares at $100 a share. General merchandise store. It has everything from shoes to clothing to hard goods. It's really quite a story. It's really just one of a number of different case studies that I think are worthy of pursuing. The real point we want to make here is that for Heflin, we've identified that you are a people, if you will, that help your own, that aren't going to wait. There are some models out there, and with a little bit of thinking outside the box, I think there are some pretty exciting opportunities on the horizon here. One of the other documents that's available to you right now is the Downtown Development Guide from Main Street, Alabama. It's available for download off of the website. And so, in addition to this small sample of ideas that we're sharing here tonight, there are a number of other examples and a guide to different resources available at the state and even the federal level that could be part of the mix, the toolbox, if you will, for economic development here in Heflin. And let me finish up here and talk about being promoters. Now, you know that Maryland has already talked about promotion. You say, well, why are we talking about promotion as part of economic development? About telling our story and making sure that folks are aware of the opportunities that exist here. And so, let me start here. This is like the lone public participation segment. So, everyone jump in. What do you see? Pool hall. Pool hall. Yes. What else? Anyone else? Vacant building. Vacant building. I think you were the first one to say it. There you go. You're all going to participate. Yeah, most folks are going to see them. You saw the old pool hall, and probably some of you probably spent some good times there, I'm guessing. The genius up here in front, what's your name? Tracy, you are now the chairman of the Economic Vitality Committee. What you're really looking at is lost opportunity, or if you will, lost economic activity. Donovan Ripkema, who is, some of you might have seen, he was just in Alabama here a week or so ago, like the guru, international guru of Main Street economic vitality. And he did a study for Main Street, Georgia a few years back, and he estimated that lost economic activity from a vacant storefront adds up to somewhere around almost $400,000, you see at the top. And that includes lost rents, lost taxes, lost wages, and down the list. And this is for an average storefront. Think about this. Even if he was only half right, and I don't think he was, in some cases I think he was half right, every vacant storefront was, you would suggest that we're losing. You walk up and down the street in downtown Heflin today. It adds up, and let me tell you folks, in my neighborhood, those are still big numbers. Why we suggest that it's in everyone's best interest to put these buildings, to activate these buildings again and make them part of the economic vitality that you see. So one simple step is, as you look at those vacant storefronts, think about them as opportunities, but let's tell folks that there are opportunities. Quite frankly, there were some buildings that we looked at, it was very apparent because of a for rent sign or a for sale sign in the window. But in many cases, we didn't even know what the status was. It was vacant. In some cases, it's historic significance and beauty. There's some problems, but in any case, let's identify those opportunities. Let's make a positive statement about it. And as those opportunities are seized upon, and by the way, there's a little bit of a clue here. Let's let folks know that something special is happening, something special is coming to downtown. And make sure that they know too that, well, those opportunities may dry up fast, so you better get in now. How did I do, Beverly? Okay. All right. I just gave you a sneak preview. I got 2 more slides to show you. Let me mention to you. In a moment, you are about to see some professional photography that is going to blow your mind. This is not the moment. I also have to, in full disclosure, mention that our models, the quotes that you see, in some cases I was paraphrasing, and in other cases I just, okay. This is for example purposes only. I mentioned to you earlier that you have a story to tell. And I wish I could have gotten to more businesses today. I just ran out of time. But I had a chance to get into a couple and just talk and learn about what's happening and what makes the business community in downtown Heflin special. And these testimonials and being able to put a picture to what sets downtown Heflin apart and why others would want to be part of it can be very powerful. And as you move up and down the street, there's a story to be told in just about every one of those shops. And it's a great way, again, to demonstrate that real opportunity resides here in downtown Heflin. And so as you think about economic vitality and economic development, what it looks like in downtown Heflin, I hope what this has done is helped to break it down in more simple terms. And whether it be as a minor, folks that actually like talking to folks and just exploring those opportunities in the market, we have a role for it. Or if it's as a facilitator and coming to partners and actually thinking creatively and out of the box about what does economic development look like and how does that happen, whether that be that local investment group, whether it be the community-owned store, whether it be the business plan contest, or some combination of those. That could be pretty exciting. And we need folks to help tell that story and talk about the opportunities that reside here and celebrate those new entries, as well as those folks that have staked their claim in downtown Heflin for a long, long time. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jake. Good afternoon. My name is Randy Wilson. I'm with Community Design Solutions out of Columbia, South Carolina, and I have the distinct privilege of serving as the Main Street architect for the state of South Carolina. And when we think about Main Street design, there's a very, very simple way to explain it through crowd participation. So this is all you have to do to understand anything and everything you need to know about Main Street design. Turn and look to somebody near you, look them right in the eye, and enthusiastically repeat after me. Just start looking at somebody. I'm so glad.
So glad.
Okay, so let me repeat the instructions. Look at them in the eye and enthusiastically repeat after me. I'm so glad.
So glad.
You don't look like me.
You don't look like me.
You have just defined the purpose and the meaning of Main Street design. And that purpose is this. It is not to turn Heflin into any other place. There is only one Heflin, Alabama on the planet. And therefore, and thusly, the last thing that we want to do is try to impose an outside design standard on your place, but rather capitalize upon your unique assets, architecturally, topographically, and every other way, and make it the very best Heflin you can possibly be. There are some fabulous towns and cities in the state of Alabama. But even if you could look like Fairhope, with all the money that it would take to turn you that, even if we did it, then you would. Yes, there are things that we can learn from Birmingham. Yes, there are things that we can learn from Mobile. But at the end of the day, I want Heflin to be the best version of Heflin possibly can be. Can I get an amen? Amen. So over the past few days, that's exactly what we've done. We've been taking a look at you, evaluating your physical environment, your architecture, your parks, your streetscapes, and all of those things, and trying to figure out what are some things that we can do to move you from good to great, or in some instances, asking the very hard question, what is actually missing here that needs to be added to make Heflin even better than it is. So with that in mind, I have kind of consolidated my recommendations into sort of 3 time frames, short, medium, and long. And those correspond with 3 themes. The first, in the short term, I'm going to encourage you to get your house in order. You're going to throw a party. I guarantee you, before the guests showed up, you'd mow the grass, you'd pick up the dishes, right, I hope, and you'd vacuum. You need to do the same thing for your city as you welcome guests. In the medium term, we're going to talk about some strategic public-private partnerships that can really bring the physical environment to the next step. And finally, we're going to talk about a vision or a plan so that everybody can rally around a big idea for what Heflin is shooting for. So let's start with these short-term things to get your house in order. There is a mantra that goes like this: you only get one chance to make a first impression. You only get one chance to make a first impression. Sociologists tell us that we make our initial impressions about human beings within 3 seconds of meeting them. And I think when we arrive in our neighborhoods, we make very similar quick impressions and perceptions about those places. So your gateways are hugely and wildly important. And kudos to you all. You probably take the award of the communities I've worked in that had the most gateways at your dominant thoroughfares into your town. So congratulations, you've done a great job. In terms of your existing gateways, the only thing that I would encourage you to do in the future is if and when these signs need some maintenance or updating, I would actually encourage you to invert the colors and put the dark letters on a lighter background, because you can see sometimes they sort of get lost in the backdrop. This one, I thought, is actually a fairly realistic, that's taken right through the windshield of a car, which is probably how most people see your community. And I just wanted you to see how, in some ways, the dark background kind of blends in with the background. But I don't want you to receive that as a criticism. It's just something to do in the next step to improve it, because, again, my hat is off to you for doing such an admirable job of welcoming and greeting the visitor at all of your strategic gateways and entries into the downtown. Going forward, however, there's a couple of very, very critical intersections in your community that I think bear a consideration for an even more significant gateway gesture. And this would be one of those locations. I think everyone knows where we are, but this is at the intersection of Highway 78 and Highway 9. And this is where you're typically going to make your right-hand turn into the downtown area, especially if you're like me, traveling via interstate. And so to me, very important pivot point in the life of your community, and it needs to really be treated well. The sort of inspiration for some of the materials that you're going to see shown in just a second are drawn right out of your own community, whether it's the stack wall where Marilyn wants to put live at the livery, or there's the beautiful mountain center. What a great asset that you have in your community. Or the new stack stone of the Chamber of Commerce sign, or even, I'm big on the pig, okay? What a great sign in your downtown. And so back to this intersection, the dominant gateway sign back here would feature that same sort of stack stone logo with the Heflin in the background. And because of your proximities to so many strategic water bodies, whether it's the Tallapoosa River or whatever, then I think that sort of water needs to be featured in this gateway. I've seen some other places where you have these stones out in the landscape, and so that would be a feature as well. Hopefully AlDOT will work with me if we can just simply saw cut this concrete and put a very low ground cover, nothing that would grow high enough to impede visibility. But it's amazing how just adding monkey grass just softens the appearance. And then finally, go ahead and bring your banners that you have downtown out to this location as well. You may want to consider some different colors that stand out in the environment, and just go ahead and foreshadow the good experience they're going to have downtown out here. Finally, at some point in the future, which we'll discuss, the wayfinding signage is a very, very important strategic device that you can use in your community to lure someone like me, a tourist, a traveler, to all of your assets in your community. And the other thing that wayfinding signage does is it not only directs you to something, it plants in your mind the fact that, man, this community has a lot to offer. Because even though I know I'm heading to downtown, now I just figured out you also have this state park nearby, you have the creek park, and you've got this Tallapoosa River that are right nearby you. And again, this whole notion, as Jay alluded to, positioning yourself as an ecotourism destination, it's one of the things that you can use in your kit of parts, so to speak. A second recommendation I'd make in the very short term, these are things that you can start next week. And those are vacant building treatments. But here's the key word. If you want to indulge me by repeating it, I would appreciate it. The key word is temporary. Can you repeat after me? Temporary.
Temporary.
I do not want you to see you using these sort of devices for the long term. They are simply mean as a temporary device to take the edge off of the vacant buildings that Jay alluded to. You can get by, any town can get by with having one or two vacancies, but if you start having quite a few, then it sends out this message, whether it's intentional or real or not, that, wow, something's going on in the downtown. So if we can sort of take the edge off of that perception through some of these temporary devices, it buys time for the building owner or the chamber or whoever, the Main Street program, to recruit new tenants for those vacant buildings. Obviously, one of the simplest one is just simply placing art windows. And again, given the prevalence of your students, high school, middle school, go ahead and let them slap their art in some of these storefronts. Another one is a really simple gesture from Peoria, Illinois, where they simply took white butcher paper, printed historic storefront photographs or streetscape photographs of their town, plastered them in the windows, and it's sort of, you're so drawn to the nostalgia of the image that you forget that the business is vacant. And Marilyn, I think the slide that you kicked off with would be a terrific image, that one where all the people were sitting at the top of the courthouse. You'd be so drawn to reminiscing that you kind of forget for a moment that the building is actually vacant. Barry, Vermont, where we did a master plan, it was historically the granite capital of America. And they had a downtown vacant building, and they simply almost turned it into an outdoor museum that talked about their history with the granite industry, talked about their namesake. I love the fact that over here what they did is they collected historic photographs and postcards. And so again, you almost forget that the building is empty because you've almost converted it into, shall we say, an outdoor museum. Now occasionally, we have an issue like this building in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, where you can't put something on the inside because the nature of the business, believe it or not, this is a vibrant, active business, but it looks empty because the windows are opaque. Now, the reason the windows are opaque here makes perfect sense because it's a pharmaceutical company that produces and packages drugs. You don't kind of want to let people see all that activity. So the solution here is what you see all the time anymore on vehicles. And it's just those vinyl cling wraps that you can see through. We can put these on the outside, again, using these historic photographs and postcards to take the edge off of the building, in this case not being vacant, but looking like it was vacant. Last but not least, especially given the community pride that we've heard so much and witnessed firsthand so much this week, is you can do a simple poster campaign. This is from Conway, South Carolina, where they featured 11 by 17 posters. That dimension is important because you can print them right off of your home color laserjet printer. And they featured people around town like Shane and like Tanya, and just, why do you call this place home? Why do you love Heflin? And again, you're so drawn to watching all of these people that you go to church with, that your kids go to school with, and why they choose to love and stay here, that you forget the fact that the building is actually empty. That brings us to the third recommendation in the short term, and that is some enhancements both to the physical appearance of City Hall, as well as a program that we would like to place inside City Hall, which is the whole Heflin Business Hub. Now, this is how the City Hall exists today, of course, and in true confession, when I showed up here Monday night, I was taking photographs, and at first, I didn't even realize that it was City Hall. And the reasons were twofold. The first was, all of the signage is primarily given to the gas company, and what tells me that this is City Hall is really, really small. And again, I hate saying stuff like that for fear that you think I'm being critical. I'm not trying to be critical, I'm just trying to give you some good feedback. But the other thing that confused me was not only the signage, but the fact that you shared space with a commercial entity. Whereas the building, to me, kind of reads like it wants to be a freestanding thing that's devoted solely to the City Hall. More on that in a second. But let's talk about the use before we actually talk about some physical changes. In a little town called Hartsville, South Carolina, it's not terribly larger than you are. They have what is called the City of Hartsville Navigator. Now, this is their City Hall building, and similar to yours, there's one door that goes right into the administrative offices of your City Hall, whereas this one goes into what's called the City of Hartsville Navigator. The Navigator is, it says at the bottom, your business development partner. It is the one-stop shop, the one place that anybody who wants to open up a business, get their reviewed, get their permits approved, they go to one place and meet with anybody and everybody that they need to have that process done in one place. And it's a simple thing. You walk inside and there's open door windows, and you just come in and you meet with the person, and whatever you need, whether it's an SBA advice on permitting or licensure, seeing or meeting with Beverly to review plans, any of all that happens right here in this one place. And the simplicity of the Navigator in Hartsville is they simply have a chart. And at any point in time, you can know all of the development activity that's occurring in downtown Hartsville, or in this case, in downtown Heflin. And that is the use that we would propose, propose for City Hall. In the first phase, this is if City Hall remains exactly where it is today. Just some simple gestures that could just give it more prominence. Just introducing sort of a modern canopy that's in keeping with the period of the architecture of the building, and then putting those metal statuary letters affixed to the top edge of the canopy, again, just to make the signage more prominent. And then over here in this bay that used to obviously be associated with the fire station, because of your prevalence of Native American history here, then perhaps that's a mural panel that just provides a little bit of color and interest. Now, long term, and let me say this very clearly for the record, lest the Robinson Gas people get mad at me, because we are not trying to displace from Robinson Gas out of downtown. As a matter of fact, we have found a building that we're going to encourage the City Hall and administrators to work with them to help do a swap. And it's a building that we feel like would actually position Robinson Gas even better for their business model. And if that could occur, then City Hall could take over all of it. And you can see now we have a lot more prominence with the architecture that kind of builds upon the style of the building itself, more prominent signs, and now these windows and this space becomes the location for, in this case, the Heflin Business Hub, where that one-stop shop occurs. And this is things that you've already talked about. And this is the kind of place where Tanya, as Main Street Director, probably needs to be, especially given her economic development role. We also think Shane should be in there, but after watching their dynamic this week, we're going to have to separate them somehow. But, oh no, there we go, there we go. But I think Beverly, this is the place where you would pop in and out of as well. And this is where we would encourage you to give some space for the SBA representative when they come into town to help people with their business plans. The other thing is, this is also where you could feature your plans. When you have these long-term development plans and exciting ideas, you plaster them in the window, and anybody walking by or driving by can see the plans that you have in store for the future of Heflin. In the medium term, we have some public and private initiatives that we want to encourage you to do. The first, of course, is going back to that wayfinding signage. Wayfinding signage, again, is hugely important. I'm not going to go through the explanation of these parts and pieces. I will in the report. I think you've seen this in other communities. And the reason we're putting it in the medium term, you may feel like you need it now, is through Main Street, Alabama, you will eventually get a branding exercise. And that will give you the design direction for your eventual wayfinding system. Very important. The second is we want to encourage you. One of the things that we heard loud and clear the other night is we need help with our buildings, our facades. We need to improve the appearance of our storefronts. The approach that I want to encourage you to take is a slightly humbler, less expensive approach. Facade grants are fabulous. They have been used wonderfully all across America in many, many different instances. But we want to encourage you to do what we call a facade component grant campaign, whereby you are only granting one element of a facade rather than trying to fix up the entire facade. For example, you might offer awning grants, or you might offer paint grants, or signage grants, or in this case of Searcy, Arkansas, rear of building grants. I mean, frankly, the list is endless. Another one would be slipcover removal grants. This, again, is from Conway, Arkansas. This is what it looked like. This is what I rendered. I said I think it looked like, and the real thing was even better. The most strategic thing that the city did here is they offered a facade component grant for slipcover removal, and as a result, 5 of the remaining 6 buildings had their slipcover removed. This building is this one, this starts this building, and these are these 3 right here. What a profound impact it made removing those metal slipcovers from these historic buildings. But again, the list is limitless in terms of the kinds of things that you might want to incent. It would be a matching grant type of proposition, where if the owner spends up to this amount, then the city or the Main Street program would match it with this amount. One of the final grants we want to consider, encourage you to consider, is what we call amenities grants. In some instances, if you've already taken care of your building and your building looks great, then let's activate downtown, in particular our sidewalks. You know, wouldn't it be great if we populated downtown, to Marilyn's point about movable furniture, with Adirondack chairs? Not only are they comfortable, but they're colorful, and they create this wonderful atmosphere in the downtown. You guys have done the world's best job with flower pots. I mean, my hat is off to you. But maybe you want to put... Is that the guy that got the dollar bill too? No, somebody else. Oh, see that? Okay, good. Mr. Payne, yeah. There you go. But you know, maybe you want to provide colorful umbrellas. We just worked in a town in Delaware that 8 months out of the year it's cold and it's gray and it's dreary. And so we actually proposed, in their case, a color amenity grant. And as long as you introduce color to the outside of your building, whether it's through a bench, a chair, a flag, a banner, a flower basket, there was a matching grant to introduce color in the downtown area. Maybe you want to use your grant to create some interactive public art. But I like the term you used. I think that just creates the stickiness factor in downtown. Now, a strategic public-private partnership that we want to talk about is this Vickery Street. I thought about this almost as like a courthouse alley plaza. And this is a particularly important street in the life of, everybody's grinning right now, I don't know why. But, oh, okay. But this is a really important place in the life of your building, for your city, excuse me, for a number of reasons. Number one, in many ways, it almost serves as the forecourt to your courthouse. I mean, you've done this really wonderful plaza park, and then you come to this roadway, and then you come up the stairs, and you're in the lawn of the courthouse. And so there's some strategic things that we want to propose for this to turn it not just to an alley, but turn it into a place. So I'm going to kind of layer this up. In the first phase, or first kind of implementation, you know, maybe we use some of those component grants just to paint the backs of these buildings. You can see I've also selected a mural on the side of this building because you have to have a prominent view to that building as you come down Ross Street. Is that right? Ross is, yeah. And so picking up on some of the colors from the mural, then we paint the backs of these buildings. And if you wanted to put down pavers, I think that would be a great way to introduce texture and color. Pay attention to these little holes right here. These are bollard kind of notches. In other words, a bollard is something that you put in place to prevent vehicles from coming down a roadway. Most of the times we want to leave it open like this and let cars continue to use it as an alley, but sometimes when we do events, we put bollards in place to make it pedestrian only. You know, Edison lights are the rage these days, you know, just stringing these lights up above, and when they come on at night, it just creates such a warm and inviting atmosphere. Long term, I'd love to see you really kind of define this place. You know, and maybe it's called Courthouse Road. And again, you put the bollards up here, and now you bring out all the furniture and the planning, and now maybe the farm to table dinner occurs right here. Can I quote you, Abby, what you said? Tell them what you told me this afternoon.
So if you guys don't know, I'm only part-time at the chamber, and the other part-time, like I work upstairs at the clerk's office in the courthouse, and I said I would love to be able on my lunch break just to like walk outside and not eat lunch at my desk and come out and sit out here and utilize this beautiful space in front of the courthouse and just sit and eat my lunch and take a few minutes out of my day because it's beautiful. Like this, I saw this earlier. This is the thing like I'm most excited about. Like I love this. It's beautiful. I would use this space every day I live there. I love it.
That's what you want to hear right there. I'd use this space every day. Thank you, Abby. Last but not least, long-term initiatives to take Heflin from good to great. 3 things. Number 1, you here in Heflin have the blessing that is I-20 and the curse that is I-20. And because you have to deal with what I call the interstate dynamic. And the way the interstate dynamic works is this. The traveler that's traveling on I-20, they get off at your interstate interchange. They fill it with gas. Maybe they grab something to eat at Hardee's or at Velarde or at Dan Yankees. Back on the interstate, and they keep going. And if you were to ask them, have you been to Heflin, Alabama? They would say, yes. But have they really been to Heflin? They missed you by about a mile. And so long term, I would actually encourage you to take the notion of gateway treatments all the way out to the interstate. And of course, you've seen these in other places. Conyers, Georgia does a great job of whether you're introducing plants or sculpture or signage, and work with the good folks at AlDOT to create a distinctive interchange that sets you apart. I'm not going to talk about your neighboring exits, but let's just say we want you to be the interchange of choice in this area of Alabama. Number 2, at this point in time, long term, you also need to extend that wayfinding sign system all the way up to the interstate. So that once they get off, you need to tell them, you have not arrived in Heflin yet. You need to hang a right, and you need to keep going a little bit. And these wayfinding signs become the breadcrumbs to lure the traveler into your historic downtown. The second long-term recommendation we have, and by the way, I want to tell you the good news. You actually have a representative from AlDOT here tonight, and I'm impressed that they would take the time to be with you tonight. Long-term, you might want to look at some streetscape enhancements to what you've already done. Let me say extremely clearly for the record, you have a very, very attractive streetscape. Okay? As a percentage of the towns I work with, in the upper echelon of the streetscapes that I've seen. The thing that we heard over and over and over again in our public input meetings was we have a parking problem. I want to set the record straight. As humbly as I can say it, you do not have a parking problem. You have a traffic speed problem. And that causes your parking to feel very, very unsafe. I work all across America. Most of the towns I work in have parallel parking. They would die. They would kill to have your angle parking. But the reason your angle parking doesn't work is not because of the angle, it's because of the speed. True story, I hate to say this. This morning when we left breakfast, pulled out of Jack's, truck was in front of me. Can I tell this? It's the truth. And I just wanted to see what would happen. And so my speedometer got all the way up to your limit at 40, and that truck was leaving me. I got up to 45, the truck was leaving me. Nobody has any business driving 50 miles an hour through your downtown. This is speed issue. This is a life safety. I don't care if people label you as a speed trap. When people go 50 miles an hour or faster through your downtown, that's a life safety issue. And y'all need to put a stop to it. Okay? That's where you say amen. Okay? All right. Number two, long term, not short term, not even mean term. We go ahead and start having conversations with ALDOT for the long term. I know historically they've broached this subject with you all about what we refer to as a road diet. In other words, 4 lanes through your main street, maybe it goes to 3. Start having those conversations over the next few years with ALDOT. Go study some other places and just get your ducks in a row. But in the meantime, enjoy your streetscape as they go. Very good, very good. Just try to slow down the speed. My final recommendation is this: is to create a highly illustrative plan for your future. Thomas Edison, right? American Center said this: vision without a plan is a hallucination. A vision without a plan is a hallucination. Tuesday night, you all crafted phenomenal stated vision. And I've been right now. If I was you one in your wrong times, I know exactly what that comes like in your mind's eye. But somebody needs to put that down on paper. So residents and your investors and your developers can get excited about the future. We need to convert those words into some pictures. The other reason is this twofold. Number one, Aristotle and then my wife. Aristotle said the soul never thinks without a picture. People get excited about pictures. We all need those helpful plans like strategic plans and comprehensive plans, but they're just words on the paper. They don't get people excited. And then my wife, anybody who knows me and my wife know I'm married way over my head. She is a beautiful Southern belle from Mississippi, a brilliant doctor. Guess what? For all of her brilliance, my precious wife does not understand two-dimensional plans. And there are probably people in this room who also don't understand two-dimensional plans. And so when I come back, doing all of my hard work in Alabama and elsewhere, and my wife says things like, well, what's that pink building? I'm like, that's not a pink building, that's a new infill building. Or what is that green squiggly thing? That is not a green squiggly thing, that's a tree. But my wife, bless her brilliant heart, it's like you say, bless her heart, you can say anything else next. She doesn't see them until we show her photographs. And so if we can convert those plans into images like this, then people can see your vision, decide about it. And all of a sudden, Jay's proposition for people to invest a little bit of money, a lot of people investing a little, it's like, yeah, I'll invest in that because I can see what my money would go to spend. The Main Street approach is exactly the approach that my team takes when we do master plans. It needs to be holistic. This 4-legged stool does not work well with only 3 or 2 legs. You need it all. And that's why the Main Street approach has 4 legs, 4 points. And these 4 are the things that Main Street are providing to you. Next year, Jay will provide you a market analysis. The year after that, they will provide a branding and marketing. At some point in the future, I want to strongly encourage you to develop an illustrative downtown master plan. Jay will be giving you these kinds of tools and techniques to tell you what your market can support. The branding specialist will be giving you these types of tools to help you, in a very compelling way, sell your community to people who you want to live, work, dine, reside, and invest in your community. Then hire people that can give you highly illustrative plans and renderings so that your community can see plans. To my wife's point, now she can know, well, that pink square, that's that burned out building that became this in the future. This what do you call that one? Slashed one is a nasty old gas station that now has the potential to look much, much better. Take those plans and illustrate them so the public can see it. One of the things I often say about master plans, don't sell short the importance of a master plan. Yes, it tells you what you should do, but it also tells you what you should not do. Typically, you only get one chance to develop a piece of property in our given lifetimes, so you better get it right. This is a great example in my state of South Carolina where they were going to tear down, well, the mill, you can see, was in the process of being torn down. They were also going to tear down the smokestack. We're like, oh, please, whatever. We proposed redeveloping this as a sportsplex because we couldn't redevelop with other use because of all the contamination issues. But now that smokestack becomes the centerpiece and a historical reference for what used to be there that anchors their sports field. So make sure the master plan only tells you what to do, but what not to do. Because one day, what I want to see is an executive summary poster of your long-term master plan hanging in Shane and Tanya's Heflin Business Hub office for all the world to see. And putting these posters all over downtown so people know this is what we're shooting for to take Heflin from good to great. And so to populate this with a real-life example of the power of vision, what was the #1 use that y'all told us you wanted the other night? A brew pub. That's exactly right. And when I see this building is begging to have a brew pub put inside of it. I mean, this building not only has the potential to house all of the machinery and all of the stuff to create the beer, but imagine the power of sitting out on this deck, drinking your beer, and watching as the trains roll in. To me, this is the vision. This is the important of it. We got a thumbs up. Who's ready to invest in the brew pub tonight? Okay. Thank you very much.
Did I do a good job bringing in a team? They're pretty awesome. So the next steps coming up, you'll have your strategic planning guide that's going to be developed by the resource team. So all the ideas they talked about tonight, they're going to flesh out. So this isn't the end of what you get. This is just the beginning. It's just scratching the surface to really help you understand how you can move to the next point. Once your committees are in place, we're going to come back in and conduct a full-day training, including work plans and goals for your 4-point committees to make sure that you actually get people involved in the process. And I know that Tanya has put up some sign-up sheets back there, so you've listened to each of these 4 points. So if there's one that really floats your boat after listening to these guys tonight, sign up, because now's the time to get on board and have some fun with what we're doing here in Heflin. We'll give you assistance with your general design guidelines, as well as we've already given a printed version to you. And then, of course, the annual assessment of the program. And our job really with Main Street Alabama is to keep you on track. Is to put a little thumb in your back, is to remind you, hey, we gave you all this cool stuff, now do something with it, to keep you moving forward as much as we can. As Jay had mentioned, the downtown design guidelines and the downtown development guide are already on our website. Anybody can access those. You just go to the under training and resources tab and you can just pull them down. We've talked a lot about Main Street being economic development, and we really are. So everything that we talked about tonight, the lovely events and the great organizational pieces that we had pulled together, the beautiful design pieces, all tie back to economic development. And all of you want more sales tax dollars in your community, you want more jobs. And you want more places that are cool to eat, shop, and play in. That's all about economic development. So you need to understand downtown plays a big role in that. A couple of things I wanted to go through as we close here, some lessons learned from Heflin on this particular trip. The amazing city support here, we don't see that in every community. That's huge. So city staff, stand up for a minute. Everybody give them a hand, because this is amazing. The other piece is your county understands the importance of Heflin to the entire county of Cleburne. Don't always see that either. So do we have county people here? If we do, stand up. A couple. Having been the Main Street director in the county seat of my little burg in Kansas, I would love to have had county be a little bit more involved, and you guys are great. The entrepreneurial spirit here is pretty impressive. We need to foster that and give support to that. We need to really make sure you fill those other 2 legs of the stool, which are understanding how to run a business and giving them funding to run their business. So we'll work on those 2 things to help you. I know I speak pretty fast, and I need to slow down sometimes. And I'd like to say that my team showed considerable restraint, but the word was buckle for anybody who's in there. We'll just let that go. You can tell them later. I fully expected there to be something there toward the end. You guys love your community, and you're willing to invest in it. We don't always see that either. So there's just some things you need to chalk up to. A lot of communities want somebody to come in and save them. And frankly, that's not our job. Our job is to teach you how to fish and how to save yourselves. And you're well on the way. And just to close before I thank everybody for coming tonight, the coolest thing about Heflin is people are choosing to come back here and live. Look around the room at the people who've done other things, big careers, gone other places, were made successful, that came back home. And that's very, very cool, and you don't see that everywhere either. So that's pretty amazing to me. Again, I want to thank the team. Randy and Jay they're awesome. We get to see them sporadically, and we love them. They're wonderful. I probably don't let my staff know enough just how much I appreciate them, and when I see them do these presentations, I understand just how skilled they are. And I do appreciate you ladies. You're lovely. So thank you all. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a shout. We'll see you soon.